All right, here we go. Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing on Talk 910. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm proud to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, one of California's fastest growing mortgage investment firms, Mike Zaidlin of Madrone Investment Advisory, and Patti Cohn of Pacific Union Realty. Our phone number is 888-912-1190. Now, you're going to use that number to answer the trivia questions for 3 vacations given away during each commercial break. That's right, we're giving away 9 vacations during this show. Now, the vacations are not sponsored by the radio station, but by Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located 1 hour northeast of San Francisco. Vacations are free. Their only request, a $75 cleaning fee to cover the housekeeping expenses. Today's trivia theme is, what does the sign mean? Okay? You'll understand when we get into it.
X marks the spot.
That's it. Okay, check us out on television, Comcast Channel 26, AT&T Channel 99, Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. Every once in a while, we're getting people to say, hey, I saw you on TV. So as long as you don't see me in the post office, that's a good thing.
We're celebrities.
All right. Patti, you had some interesting tidbits for us.
Well, aside from the fact that the market is hotter than hot, I've never seen it so crazy. And one of the things that's really happening in terms of a trend is that our company had a meeting yesterday, and we sort of did raise your hand, what percentage in the Bay Area is cash? And at least 40% of the offers that we get are cash. But of those accepted, close to 70%. So that's actually changing the scope of our buyers. So for example, I brought on a property last week for $1,395,000. We had 13 offers. It went for $1,700,000.
Jeez,
It's closing on
Christie's.
Friday.
And these are cash sales. You're saying that's a cash
That
sale?
particular one was a cash sale.
Wow.
And of the 13, I didn't honestly even look, because when they're coming in at 1.4 and you got a 1.7, it doesn't matter if they're cash or not.
Yeah.
But the point is, of those that get accepted when it's really tight, they're going to be cash. Now, they might get a loan on it later,
Yeah.
but it's also, really going to the rich people.
Yeah.
And, the cute couple that's expecting, that wants to get out of the city and come to the suburbs, they're out of the game.
Well, yeah, middle class people aren't walking around with $2 million in their checking accounts normally.
Right.
Usually it's maybe has something to do with might it be tech or some other very highly wealthy stock.
Can I ask you a question about that specific house?
Mhm.
Were the buyers just deciding they love this house so much that they were just going to way overbidding it, or did you price it in such a way that it invited
It's a
people?
great question.
Thank you.
Actually, no, it was not priced low.
Okay.
And in fact, I've been working with them a long time, and last summer I didn't even want to take the listing at that price. I said, let's wait. So it was priced at $793 a square foot. It's a little tiny house in East Corte Madera. It's got amazing views, and it's tricked out. Infinity pool, blah, 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 water views. It's trading at $1,110 per square foot, $1,110 per square foot. That's a lot.
That's like New York, Manhattan money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And typically we only see those kind of numbers in Tiburon and Belvedere, and it's a $9 million sale.
Well, your sellers must be quite ecstatic.
They're thrilled. Yeah. So we didn't price it that way, but what I did see, as a listing agent, you quickly see how things are going to go. So I was really generating heat and telling people you've got to come in really big, because I could see that where it was going.
See, there's the value of having a very good agent. Because if this was a FSBO, as they say, for sale by owner, I can almost guarantee they wouldn't have gotten that kind of offer.
They wouldn't have. And the funny thing is, I predicted 13 offers and I predicted 1.7. Only in my head. I don't speak it. Yeah, I did.
Wow. I mean, I believe you, but that's pretty amazing.
I honestly did. I could see it coming.
Well, it's funny. So last week we were talking about a report that came out, where 8 of the top 10 fastest moving housing markets in the nation are located in California. And that was pretty interesting. And I got another article that gives just a little bit more information about that. And this author of this article was trying to explain why in the face of predictions from the same author that housing prices were going to peak in 2014 and go down in 2015, they're saying they continue to remain high today, that is housing prices, and we have this acceleration of deals closing within 30 and 60 days, because there remains this perception that housing prices will continue to rise in the Bay Area. He calls this a sticky price phenomena. And I guess people will come up with all kinds of explanations as to why prices keep going up as crazy.
But that's the thing, is didn't the last couple of months things kind of slow down a bit?
It did, but what we're noticing in the Bay Area is a delayed market. So usually by April 15th, it's our absolute peak, and we're already in the first week of May, and the listings are trickling on.
Huh.
So it's a severe shortage of inventory, and that's what's fueling the drive.
Now, Mike, you've just been taking all this in, and now I see you're ready to say something.
Well, what's that saying? We have two ears and one mouth, so we can listen twice as much
That's
as
right,
we talk.
yeah.
I do have a couple thoughts. One question I had was, is any of this activity being affected by Airbnb or vacation renting of homes, or is that in any way impacting the decision as to what the home or property is worth if they can turn around and vacation rental it, or are you seeing any impact at all from that?
Well, I think it's impacting both. One is I'm not going to sell because I could do that, and the other is I'm hearing from agents asking me as we network, what do you got, and there's buyers out there looking for properties where they can do that. But I'm very cautious when people saying, you make sure that you look at those local ordinances.
Yeah,
What you can and can't do.
and they're starting to clamp down on that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Patty, what do you think accounts? I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
for the fact that there's so little inventory, and when will that change, and what will change it?
Gosh, golden question, really. The lack of inventory, I think, is always present in the Bay Area, which is, the greatest place to live in the world, and where do you go? For a while it was, I think prices are still going to go up, and I'm going to wait because I weathered the storm. Why sell when it's low? Is it low right now, or is it plateauing? And then all kinds of other factors, mostly where do you go? And,
yeah,
and
if you
what
sell here, you have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Sure.
And even if you're going to, quote, buy down, you're in the big house and you're going to buy a 3-bedroom, you're not going to get much more because most of the value is in the land.
So I wanted to comment on the Airbnb phenomenon, because actually I believe that is yet another factor that's been driving up prices and impacting inventory, because I've been checking out Airbnb just locally in my area in Marin County, and what I've noticed recently is a lot of properties that are on Airbnb right now, I had toured when they were for sale 6 months or a year ago. So the persons who bought it. In fact, I actually did some research on some of these sales, and they were marked down as supposedly being owner-occupied transactions, but these people decided to buy it to basically Airbnb it, so that you can make quite a bit of money. I mean, there's no guarantee that you're going to actually be able to via Airbnb make more money than you would on a month-to-month rental, but just the fact that it's just been taken off. I find it interesting that people are actually buying not only to rent, but to actually take advantage of what they see as a phenomenon known as Airbnb.
Yeah, my wife didn't appreciate when I brought up that, hey, sweetie, you remember that tent we had? Let's go ahead and do Airbnb, and then we'll sleep in the backyard for a couple of nights.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, one of the real dangers of assuming you can Airbnb it is the fact that there's so much blowback from locals now about their neighborhoods being turned into little mini hotels.
It's funny, when I first
legislation is a real threat in many of these areas.
when I first heard that, the first thing I was thinking of the old, NIMBY, not my backyard. But then I kind of started thinking a little bit more, and I thought, I can kind of understand it. If you're constantly having new people come in all the time, and you don't know if they're going to throw raucous parties and stuff like that, I can kind of see where you want to have some kind of control over your neighborhood.
I absolutely see it. Yeah. Especially in condominiums and in the city where everybody's on top of each other.
Yeah.
And then part of the question, Mike, is the next level is when are we going to have, is there a limit to the supply of Airbnb? And really the other side of that is what's going to happen to the hotel industry.
Yeah. Well, they were the ones who were driving hey, you guys got to collect set taxes and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. So we're going back to the people, like On the Move company that owns all of the taxis in Marin just closed.
Yeah.
That's Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
It's the same analogy.
Same analogy. Good point. Okay, we're going to cut to our first commercial break here, and the theme is, what does the sign mean? Now, before we did that, last week we had a special trivia contest where the winner won 2 tickets to kayaking on the Napa River via the Napa River History Tour. And a little promotion for them here. Join the Napa River History Tour on beautiful 2-hour kayak tours. We discover wildlife and explore Napa's most revealing and provocative secrets. Perfect for all fitness levels and experience. They include the kayaks, life jackets, and paddles. All you need to do is show up and enjoy. Call 707-227-7364 or go to NapaRiverHistoryTour.com. So here was the question. About 80% of people say they have faked this more than twice a year. What? Yeah, I know where you're going with that. The answer, they faked someone else's signature. And our winner was Bugsy in Sing Sing. No, I'm just kidding. Our winner was Fred in Rohnert Park. I wonder how many signatures he's done. Okay, now, here's our first trivia question. Again, the theme is, what does the sign mean? When you see a sign in front of a business that is red and has a red diagonal strip going from the top left corner down to the bottom right corner, what type of business is this? Okay, oh, you know the answer, all right. The first 3 callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. When you see a sign in front of a business that is red and has a red diagonal strip going from the top left corner down to the bottom right corner, what type of business is this? Stay with us. You're listening to The Best of Investing, and we will be right back. All right. That was a good segment.
Yeah, the Airbnb thing is really a top big issue. I mean, but if you go on VRBO, you see that it's all like in San Francisco, Mill Valley, and like there's 3 in Nevada. It's
There's
really
actually quite a few. There's a lot more in Nevada.
Okay.
There's 3 in Belmar and Keys alone.
Yeah.
And where I saw in Nevada was in the President's section. It was a 5-bedroom, 4-bath that we had toured. I liked it a lot. It was a very nice house. The person bought it for $1,450,000 and was asking for $1,000 a night.
Really?
Now, I have no idea how many. I mean, they had some great.
I mean, I figured
out,
we could maybe get
You can usually
$875
see the
tonight,
calendar.
Yeah.
600.
Yeah, the calendar
You probably
looked like
could.
they
Yeah,
had some.
Because I
It's
rented mine in Rawson. It's very similar to yours.
Oh,
I was
okay.
a listing agent of his house, so I
Yeah.
know it well. And I used to, like 4 years ago, I would rent mine in Ross for like $900.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in fact, I know some friends of ours down the street from Mark who do the Airbnb, and they rent it for about $300 and something a night. They basically they go on vacation a lot, just taking their camper and go camping, and then they pay for all their vacations that way.
That's awesome.
Okay.
Then there's tax and cleaning fee and all that. You know.
Yeah,
Sausalito's holding hearings on what the outlawing it.
I mean, how do
Well,
you
and good luck outlawing it.
yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, in
Sounds good to me. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
If you can.
exactly. Well, in Hawaii,
Yeah.
there's at the Ko'olina. There's a bunch of condominiums in the back. You have to sign a 30-day lease. They don't let you do by the week. And I go, and if you wanted to, like sign a month lease with a you can get out with a 2-day
Yeah,
notice or
right.
something.
They've actually changed it in Hawaii to 6 months now, no more 30 days.
Yeah.
Because they're on it, they want to see a 6. I mean,
Yeah, but even
like you said,
30
catch me
days,
if you can.
yeah,
Right.
just
I mean, there'll be
30
blowback,
days.
and it'll just become a black market. So either legalize it, regulate it, tax it, and benefit from it, or be emotional about it and go up in arms and say, "We're going to outlaw
It
those
was the-
whippersnappers from doing
Well,
that."
it was the condominium complex, basically. You know, the homeowner
horse and
association
buggy.
that was saying kids didn't want to get kicked
Well,
out.
Mark, they do enforce it. All the neighbors.
Oh, the neighbors are on it.
Well, that's
You
right.
get the police down there. It's
No,
not
I get it.
Yeah,
It turns into neighbor against neighbor. Yeah, it's it'll be.
or neighbor against tourist.
I mean, I was in New York for years.
Go ahead, I ain't gonna be around, you know.
Yeah. I was in New York for years, and I did an Airbnb, and she was like, "Don't tell anybody that neighbor. She's gonna look at you to see her because
Yeah.
it was crazy." But it's happening.
All right, we're going to move on to next.
Oh, let's go with Mark.
Let's
We're
go
on
with
real
Mark.
estate.
Okay. Mark, you got some good stuff?
I do.
Okay, all right.
Just throw out the nationwide stuff.
All right,
Check out that.
Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hoff, Patti Cohen, and Mike Zablin. When we cut to the first commercial break, we asked this trivia question. Again, the theme is, what does the sign mean? When you see, that's what, one time I was dating, this girl said, "What's your sign?" I said, "Slippery when wet." I didn't get any more dates after that. Okay, when you see a sign in front of a business that is red and has a red diagonal strip going from top left corner to the bottom right corner. What type of business is this?
I was going to say a dive shop.
Yeah, basically scuba or skin diver.
Diver down.
Very
nice.
good.
Wow.
Well, I'm impressed.
At first I thought it was going to be a barber, but then you didn't
No,
say
in
swirling around.
pole, yeah. Which, and by the way, for those of you who don't know, surgeons in the 1700s or even earlier, I think that's how you could tell. It was kind of disgusting, but it would be a bloody rag that would be around a pole, and they would know, oh, that's where a doctor is.
Right,
Oh my God.
that's how the barbershop round thingy got.
Exactly. So they
invented,
kind of
yeah.
do, they sort of.
Barbers and surgeons,
barbers
they were
and
one of the
surgeons.
same.
Yeah, they were one and the same. Exactly.
Signage.
I get a little nervous when I go to my barber now. I say, be careful, just my
Right.
hair, please.
Buyer beware. So we were talking a little bit about local real estate, which of course we all know is just crazy. Prices are still accelerating, inventory is down, it's hard to buy a home if you're on the market. What's happening nationwide? Obviously, real estate nationwide is important. We may not think about it a whole lot here in the Bay Area or in California, but when you think about what impacts the Fed and the federal funds rate and interest rates, and what impacts Washington and decisions they make, they are looking at. They're really not. I mean, they may pay attention to Bay Area real estate and notice what it's doing, but really they're looking at the nation as a whole. And here was a national article just this past week that I thought was hilarious, just from the title. It says, "Housing market continues gradual move toward recovery."
And we decided ahead of time that was someone who lived in Arkansas.
Yeah, or Kansas, or who knows where. But it says here, housing and economic activity has returned to or exceeded normal levels in about 20% of the 360 metropolitan areas in the country. I'm thinking, okay, 20%, only 20%. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't say exactly what was happening in the other 80%. That would have made the article
Means they're
very
close.
interesting, right? Yeah.
Well, to get on that point, I looked at this one loan that was in, gosh, what state was that? It was somewhere back east, and it was, gosh, I can't remember now. But anyway, it was a situation where the buyer was buying this property for something ridiculous, like $8 a square foot.
Wow.
And it was a nice looking building, an old bank building. And they were trying to get a loan for what would have been like $5 a foot. And I go, gosh, this sure seems pretty good. So I decided to make a couple of calls, and I talked to a realtor who actually had an incentive to tell me things were great, because I told him, I said, listen, if I do this loan and I foreclose, I'm going to use you as my agent. That's why I'm asking these questions. And he was really honest with me. He said, this is a dying place. He says, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
He says, it's just, not a hustling, bustling town. It's just the opposite.
Wow.
Well, and it did go on to say that the number of markets returning to house price levels last seen in the early aughts, and I'm reading from that, I like that, the early aughts, the early 2000s, is up to about 95% of all metros measured. So markets with the strongest recovery are those with the strongest employment growth. So we always talk about in real estate, and if you listen to any real estate shows about real estate investing nationwide, one of the things they will always tell you is study the areas, the marketplaces where it looks like they are going to be experiencing strong job growth, because as job growth goes, so does real estate. And I pretty much throw that all out the window here in the Bay Area, because although it is tied to job growth, it's tech has created tremendous new high-paying jobs, has created has minted thousands of new millionaires, and those people with money have decided, I want to buy a nice house, or I want to buy a house, period, close to where they work, and it's pushed up housing prices. So,
which, by the way, I just remembered, the state it was in Indiana.
Oh,
Between Indianapolis,
Indiana's tough. Yeah.
where the winds go. Oh no, it's Oklahoma. It was between Indianapolis and Ohio, and apparently it's on a major thoroughfare.
Wow.
But it's kind of crazy. So you have to be really careful where you buy.
So rising housing prices has had an impact, of course, on a number of family situations and generations. And we've talked about in prior shows how the millennials have kind of been holding out and keeping out of the marketplace for reasons including the fact that they just haven't made enough money yet to buy a house. I saw this stat here today, and I clipped it out and I'm going to share it with you. This is from a survey from the Consumer Finance and Protection Bureau, the CFPB, and it says 20% is the big number at the top, and that represents the percentage of parents that expect their millennial children to live at home for 5 or more years.
Gee,
Wait, 5 or more years.
To live
living
at
at
home.
home.
Live at home.
That will continue to live at home for the next 5 or more years. Millennial
Past
children.
college. I mean,
Well, millennials essentially defined as people in their 20s.
And it really, I mean,
Wow.
how, are their parents delusional? I mean, do they want them at home? Do they want them out? Do they not
Good
believe
point.
in their children?
yeah. I mean, I said I love you kids, but bye.
Yeah.
yeah. Come visit sometime, but you know, don't want you living with me anymore.
And a lot of it's expectation. If that's what you expect, well, I'll hang out with you, Mom. If it's free.
Yeah.
You know, if they
yeah.
expect them to leave, they're going to get out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know. Just
Well, and
Like
more and more
devil's
people are,
advocate.
yeah, and more people are living at home to an older age. Now, whether or not they're living at home because they're saving up for that down payment, I mean, I did that.
Yeah, I did
I
that too.
got out of college, I graduated in '82, and I lived for 4 years until '86, and then I bought my first home for all of $100,000 in San Rafael.
Oh,
Which
there
today,
you
that
go.
same house would probably be about $500 new.
Oh, yeah.
100,000 is the monthly mortgage now.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
I know, exactly.
Oh yeah, for some of those homes, for a lot of the ones, I drove by over the weekend, a couple of homes listed in Belvedere. Yeah, you're right. That's some of those homes were at their asking prices would be around. You too could own this home for $100,000 a month on a 4%
And
loan.
then that's just the real estate taxes now. You
Yeah.
know?
I mean, entry level in San Rafael is about $1 million.
Is that
Yeah,
right? Wow.
absolutely.
Well, one way to get your kids out is to take the door off and move the bed out. That
Yeah,
will usually help.
exactly.
Edward, are you speaking from experience?
Yeah. Actually, no, love my kids, but they're the ones who, you know, they said, yeah, love you, Mom and Dad, but, you know, I want to get out there. Yeah, I support you.
Yeah.
Now,
Of
you
course
had
I-
you had a
of
real
course.
estate nugget there about something having to do with home sales and a surprising percentage that were
Well,
vacation homes.
Yeah.
In the U.S. in 2014, 1 out of 5 properties were vacation homes. And
Wow, that's almost 20%.
that's 20%. No, 20%. No, okay.
Yeah.
But so what does that tell us? I mean, that's confidence. That's consumer confidence. But the other side of that too, if you think about it, is the vacation homes took a bigger dive than in the recession.
Oh,
So
that's
now
right.
you
You know
can get
what?
good deals on
Yeah,
that.
I remember
Yeah.
like Lake Tahoe. It was amazing that,
Yeah.
how you know it kept going up and up and up, and then things, you know, 2011.
Yeah.
It was amazing. They dropped 30% in no time.
So that I think that's part of it, but it's also a nice big confidence in the market. You don't just do a vacation home as a little.
Yeah, no, that's.
Do you think it might have included second homes as well as vacation homes, or do you think it's vacation homes only? It may not have been that
Isn't that kind of the
specific
same?
in
But
market.
it's-
That's kind of the same
Same
thing.
thing. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
That's how I would
Same
do
thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I think the other part of it is that old of called baby boomers. We are the biggest market and will continue to be. So we're all looking at, you know, age 58 is the middle of the baby boom bulge. It's 10 years on either side. So all those people in their 59 to 60 are just buying the homes and they're retiring. And they're
Edward, you and I are in the bulge.
Yeah.
I'm in the bulge.
I feel like I'm in the bulge.
Yeah. See, for the audience who doesn't know, Mark's putting his hand on his stomach. Okay.
I would guess that part of how much of the reason, but certainly some part of the reason has to do with the suppression of interest rates.
Yes,
so it's
absolutely.
forcing investors to have some access to funds to put their money somewhere
Mm-hmm.
because they're not getting anything in
Yeah.
CDs or bonds.
I mean,
so
yeah, there's a lot
interest
of
rates
real
are
estate.
low, real estate's cheap in that sense.
Yeah.
Of course, there is a lot of real estate that's selling at 3 cap. There was someone who announced at one of these meetings. They announced they sold something at a 1.7 cap rate. All I can think of is the rents were just way too low.
This was a commercial networking
Yeah.
meeting, right?
Yeah, and I'm thinking, how can anyone buy something that's a 1.7 cap?
Wow.
That doesn't make any sense.
Trophy property.
Do you remember the old days of 12 caps?
Yeah.
Ah,
In the 80s.
and gross revenue multipliers of 8.
Oh,
Oh, dreamy.
That is dreaming.
Yeah. Dream on. Okay, when we come back, we're going to get in touch here with Mr. Mike Zaidlin, because I know he's got some excellent financial things. We've talked a lot about real estate, and even though Mike loves real estate, he's got a lot of good financial stuff to share with us.
Awesome.
Okay, second trivia question regarding what does the sign mean? When you see a sign with 3 balls hanging from a post, what kind of business is this? The first 3 callers with the correct answer are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. When you see a business with 3 balls hanging from a post, what kind of business is this? All right? And stay with us. When we come back, Mike Zalin's going to talk some financial stuff. You're going to want to listen to the expert. Don't touch that dial. The best of investing. We'll be right back.
We're good. How you manage this? I gotta say,
Yeah,
keeps the
thanks.
energy up, keeps the
Well,
time.
that's the thing. It's so funny.
Man's a pro.
Yeah,
Yes,
really.
he
Well,
is.
we were just talking about other shows where you may listen. And yes, and the stock market was up 25 points today.
Yeah.
And it's like, even if I'm interested in it, I'd still turn the dial. I just
Totally.
can't listen to stuff.
That's half of it. Or the groovy PBS. Isn't that right, Jane?
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, we got to do it in such a way that it's entertaining, but not completely unprofessional.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, there's kind of a balance there.
I hear you. I'm amazed how many people watch and listen.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people saying I hear you on the radio. A
Really?
lot. Yeah. That's so funny.
I didn't tell her to
See?
say that. I
don't
know.
anybody say that to me.
I do.
One person.
And it's funny because she's only on once a month.
Well,
I know.
I know, and I mean, I didn't
She's
have
memorable.
Oh, that's true.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, and
You
it's
just know
all
a
been
lot
in
of
the
people,
last
maybe.
few weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
Partly maybe. Well, here's the thing. How many people in this Bay Area do you know?
A lot.
Okay, how many people in the Bay Area? I mean, you.
Not nearly as many as Patti.
Well, I was gonna say maybe that's a little part of it.
The other thing is too, some of them are agents, and agents are really jealous. And at the bottom of my signature, I'm sending emails all day long, and always on my signature, it says something about that.
Oh,
So
I
they're
see.
probably like, "Let me check this out. What's she doing?"
See?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my
see,
email
that's the
signature,
thing. Is,
And
is
just saying, like
see,
your
you're
show,
smart.
not-
You're using it in a good marketing way, even amongst other
Yeah.
agents and stuff.
Yeah.
There's
I
just-
think of it as a listing tool. Everything we do is a listing tool. And then I always put it on Facebook. I put it on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I Twitter it every single time.
Mark, do you Twitter?
I don't. I should, but I don't. Yeah.
No, but I fart a lot.
Why don't we just take your word for it?
Well, you know
Actually, I
how,
stole that line.
I
There was a
mean,
joke on that.
I don't do, what I do is I have a service that I set up once a week, and I schedule all one a day and all 4 with the click of 7 times I do it. It goes on Facebook, it goes on everything.
That's smart.
Yeah.
That's a good.
And then once I don't do it, and then I put it on all, I put this on all of them.
Do you remember that postcard? No, you don't remember it firsthand, but from around 1900, when Rudyard Kipling was the most famous writer in the world, the postcard said, do you like Kipling? And the other person says, I don't know, I've never kibbled.
I don't remember that one.
It's like the Twitter thing.
Really?
Exactly.
Do you Twitter? Do you tweet?
Okay. You have some good stuff for us?
Down 25% in one day.
Yeah.
So did Yelp.
Why?
So did
Yeah.
that.
Why?
This week?
Twitter, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Yelp all went down.
That's something to
25%.
talk about. I think. Aren't people interested? No.
Yeah, it is. Again, it's you're not saying that you're the expert on Twitter, but we can
Sure.
talk to
Certain tech stocks took a big bump.
Yeah.
That's newsworthy, I
See,
think.
when we talk about real estate, they're the real estate experts.
Gurus.
But I'm going to talk about this article.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Go ahead. All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host. My co-host, Mark Hahn. My co-host, Patti Cohen. My co-host, Mike Zaidlin. 4 of us. We need one more for a full basketball team. Okay, let's see here. Second trivia question. What does the sign mean? When you see a sign with 3 balls hanging from a post, what kind of business is this?
I can't take that question seriously because every time you said that, Patty giggled.
Mike?
I would not even know.
I
where
don't
to go
even know
on
where
that
to
one. Oh my
start.
God, I'm dying to find out the answer.
You don't know the answer?
No idea.
There's a show on. It's a very well-known show now. It's called Pawn Stars. It's a pawn shop.
Ah.
So when you see a post with 3 balls hanging, and in fact, if you watch the show Pawn Stars, you'll see the logo on their shirt. It's not just for their shop. It's anytime you see a pawn shop, you're supposed to see a post with 3 balls.
What does it mean?
They sell balls? No, I don't know. That's just a signature.
Okay.
Okay, so
Say so.
we told the audience when we came back we were going to hand it over to you, Mike.
Well, okay. Well, I have article that I thought was interesting for our listeners. It was put out by Vanguard, and it's called Advisors Alpha. And what that means is typically, historically, most people have assumed that the value in a financial advisor is in their ability to pick investments. But so much research has been done showing that, on average, advisors will not be able to provide any real value in terms of the investments per se over, say, a bucket of index funds, diversified portfolio. In other words, active management on an overall basis for all advisors added together must be negative because the fees subtracted from the market performance will underperform, sometimes pretty seriously. And so, as I mentioned, until everyone is tired of hearing about it, over 10, 20-year periods, active trading strategies such as actively managed mutual funds tend to beat the market, beat their underlying index only maybe 10 to 20% of the time. And of course, you'll never know whether that was random or not because that could have just been produced randomly. And on an after-tax basis, if it's in a taxable account with all that active trading, the taxes would, even if you did beat the market, tend to take a lot of those performers who had beaten the market and underperform on an after-tax basis.
So it's sort of like going to Vegas and saying, the odds are against me because I know the odds are in the house's favor, but I can win. It's almost like that.
Right, and it's pretty seductive too. And what happens in human psychology is people think, well, you know what, I'm going to go to the best. The best are the best in any field. The best chess players, the best brain surgeons. That should be also true in investment management. The best people should, or the smartest people should beat the market, but it doesn't actually work out that way.
But how do you even figure out who's the smartest?
Well, and that's another problem too. And so, and past performance is no guarantee of success, and that's why the SEC mandates that be put on mutual fund advertisements. So you've got an article here by Vanguard calling it Advisors Alpha, and what they're basically saying is a financial advisor has a greater probability of adding value not by picking the investments, but through relationship-oriented services such as wealth management and financial and tax planning strategies. Discipline and guidance on behavioral issues because most investors will tend on their own to buy high and sell low.
Yeah, I was going to say, because they're constantly getting in and out, going, the market's just too high, I got to get out now.
And I've had clients come in and say, well, Mike, why should I buy, if I want to be in the market, why should I go with index funds? I'm just going to get average returns. And what I always tell them is, no, those are actually above average returns. If actively managed strategies are losing to the market, you're actually going to get above average returns. It may seem like you're getting the market in other words, the market return is an above average return.
When you say average, then average of what? Average of mutual fund or stock market performance?
Well, let's just take the S&P 500.
Okay.
So if you're in an index fund and it returns what the S&P 500 returns, that's probably beating most of the funds.
Yeah, because most of the funds don't even do as well as the S&P.
Right, and so there's a great study done over 35 years which showed that the average U.S. investor earned about 3.5% of the market when the market was returning 9%.
That's a huge difference.
And that's a huge difference in that 5.5% shortfall. Part of that was because of fees. Part of it was because of behavior. I'll never forget a great story about Peter Lynch's Magellan Fund. Yeah. The average investor in that fund during the time that the period which the books were written about that fund being the greatest fund on earth, the average investor actually lost money.
Wow.
That's incredible. It has to be because they just got in.
Exactly.
They got in and out, getting in and out.
They got in at the high always, and then if it did, they got out.
Yeah, because there was a time when that fund was just incredible with the returns. It was like head and shoulders above everything.
But you had to be there the whole time, right? You had to
Yeah,
stay in the fund.
Yeah.
Or get in, certainly
Get in early.
get in or lower than you got out. So Advisors Alpha is really about addressing, too much emphasis is placed on beating the market. There's no even need to beat the market. The market historically does well enough over many years, such that it should be able to make you a lot of money if you're in it for a long time and you don't suffer from the bad luck of being in it during a depression, which can happen.
Well, that feeds kind of right into an email we received for you. It says, if I want to invest for income and preserve principal at the same time, what do you favor nowadays, or what would you recommend?
Well, that's almost mission impossible.
Okay.
And that, basically every asset now on earth is expensive. Real estate is expensive, bonds are expensive, stocks are expensive. And so when people say income, in a way I wonder, are they taking into account the fact that in a normal period of time, stocks go up, and part of their total return includes income and the principal. Because if you are a stock market investor, it's not just the income you're looking at in terms of dividends, but you're looking at the return of principal too. But of course, there's risk. Their stocks can go down 50%. They've gone down 50% a couple times. The other choices are bonds, but bonds pay very little. Treasuries, 10-year treasuries are around 2.5%.
Well, so sometimes you'll have a situation where a client needs a certain amount of income. At this point, they're just going to have to dip into their principal.
Well,
right?
they're being forced. Yeah, they're being forced further down the risk curve. So, in normal times, you could get 4 or 5% from a bond and have some margin of safety. But now, if you need 4% and Treasury's paying 2, you're going to eat into that principal, or you're going to find an investment that's simply riskier. That's typically been high dividend paying stocks or junk bonds. Now, and Mark knows people go into trust deeds to get higher income too.
Yeah.
And that can be a risky proposition, or it can be a safer proposition.
It all depends on, exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then I guess the question, if I'm a listener and I go, okay, here's a financial advising guy on the show, and he's basically saying, you don't hire an advisor to beat the market. I'm thinking, well then, what's this guy in the show for? How does he make money, and what kind of services does he
The
provide?
reason you hire advisors is to do proper financial planning, tax planning, behavioral coaching, wealth management. There are a lot of ways that advisors get clients good returns on an after-tax basis without being the market. So, for example, just to take a basic issue, if you own stocks and bonds and you have tax-deferred IRAs or you have taxable accounts, where do they go? I've seen so many portfolios where they have bonds in a taxable account where someone's in a 50% bracket and half that ordinary interest is going to taxes.
Well, for people who maybe didn't listen a couple of weeks ago, you had some great advice regarding people on Social Security. So, there's different ways to take, your choices. Do you take Social Security at age 62, or do you wait till 65, or, it depends on your spouse and your longevity of life. And there's a whole bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of thing that people can sit down with you and you can charge by the hour or by the job?
By the minute.
By the minute, like, yeah.
Usually by the time or negotiated.
Okay. So I'm going to ask right now, how do people get a hold of you if they wanted to at least check into your services?
Sure. My number is 415-785-4585.
Okay. We're going to cut to another commercial break. When we come back, we have a couple of good emails for our other two co-hosts here. Before we do, we want to announce that we are going to have another special trivia contest next week, where the winner is going to get 2 tickets to the Russian River Adventures. So if you're looking for the best family experience ever, check out Russian River Adventures, which, by the way, I did go on them, it was a year ago. And it was very nice, nice little 2-hour, easy-going canoe ride, basically.
It's easy and fun, and bring your sunscreen.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll be on the best section of the river for seeing birds and wildlife, which is true. Comfortable inflatable canoes, which provide more stability, which means more fun. Yes, we did not tip the canoe. That was excellent. And just bring a picnic, lunch, and enjoy the river. It was awesome. Water was nice and not too cold. It was great. Check them out, RussianRiverAdventures.com, or call 707-433-5599 today and have the time of your life. So that's going to be next week. We're going to have a special trivia contest for that. So now this is our last trivia contest question for what does the sign mean? When you see a road sign with a squiggly line and an arrow at the end, what does that sign mean? So we're talking about a road sign as you're driving. The first 3 callers with the correct answer to that question are going to win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Call 888-912-1190. That's 888-912-1190 to answer this question. When you see a sign with a squiggly line and an arrow at the end, what does that sign mean? Make sure to include your name and your email address. Speak slowly. Spell out your email one letter at a time. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be back with the best of investing.
That's
all, folks. All right. Save this and I'll tell you
Is
how
that
many
right?
minutes we have.
Just pop it in.
Oh,
Nice.
a couple things that need to happen.
Okay, so Patty, I'm really curious. Is there enough volume to support the real estate agents?
There never is.
There never is.
Because think about this, I think there is about like 2,800 sales for the year, and there's about 1,400 to 1,500 agents.
But
Now
some
call
people
that
are very-
5,200 because there's some on each side.
Sure.
So the average agent does less than 40 a year.
Yeah.
I
And a
do
lot of
about
agents are
20.
doing 10 to 20.
I'm doing
Yeah,
20.
So,
And, yeah.
so they drop out eventually, the bottom 20% of agents tend to drop out over time.
Well, yeah, the statistic is that 78% are gone within 5 years. So, you know,
A lot of them are just part-time, they just happen to have their license.
well, they're part-time because they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And then 60% are gone after 18 months.
Now, would
So-
someone like me be in that category because I have my I don't sell real estate, but I have my license?
I don't think so, because I'm
Okay.
looking at the Board of Realtors. Are you with the
Oh,
Board
no.
Association of Realtors? Yeah, so you're not even in that.
Got it.
A lot of taxi drivers have real license too.
Yeah. That's true.
A lot of Uber drivers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's amazing. And so when I talked about people sometimes about listing their house, I mean, it's like if somebody's income is a third of your house is a third or 25% of their income, they're going to sell you out in negotiation. That's another thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's good.
and they don't even have to negotiate because they're out of the game.
You should say that when we're.
Okay.
Getting into, that's a very good point.
Yeah.
But I couldn't believe the taxi cab started yesterday. That was really something.
Yeah.
The closure.
Uh,
I know.
I hated to see that, but
I know.
Yeah, and then Uber with the independent contractor type thing and all that.
Yeah, I love Uber.
Yeah, I've had some good success. Not me personally, but the kids.
Yeah, I use it all the time. Well, not all the time. Anyway.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Best of Investing. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host. Mark Hahn, Patti Cohen, and Mike Zabin are joining me. When we got to the third commercial question, third commercial break, here was our trivia question. When you see a road sign with a squiggly line and an arrow at the end, what does the sign mean?
I used to love seeing that sign when I was young, 16, and driving fast all around Lynn County. It meant speed up and get squirrely.
Speed up and get squirrely.
An old 70s term, getting squirrely in your car means, fishtailing and speeding and doing
That's
things.
not what sign means.
Isn't it slippery when wet?
No.
Windy roads? I don't know.
Go ahead, Mike.
I was just going to say, I thought it meant that it was a windy road.
Caution.
No, it means the road ends ahead.
How?
Right, because it has an arrow at the end, kind of squiggly line and an arrow at the end.
So don't speed up. and get
Don't
squirrely.
speed all, yeah, don't get squirrely in that one.
That's why my car didn't make it into the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Patti, question for you we received. I had my real estate taxes lowered when real estate decreased in value, but now that real estate is recovering, will my taxes go up to what I was paying before the recession?
Well, they go up roughly 1.25% a year automatically.
Okay.
What I've heard, I don't know if it's true or not, but the people that actively sought to get their taxes lowered based on the recession, that's who the assessor specifically goes after when it goes.
Okay, so the Prop 8, basically, to get it lowered, it'll go back up, but
I've heard the same
much.
thing, that
Yeah.
they go back to recapture that discount they gave you, that they have the right to do that, notwithstanding the normal, 1% annual increase.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. As I understand it too, is a lot of people say, well, if it's let's say I had $1 million house and they priced it now down to 800,000, they say, oh, well, now it can only go up 1.25%, 1.2%, or just basically a 2% increase of the 800,000. But that's not the case. It can go up to the million, then 2% per year. Which again, in July we're going to have Rich Benson on here, the tax assessor, and he'll help us. Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, so the answer to that one is the taxes could potentially just go up to what they had before, and then the increase, the Prop 13 increase.
Right, but the assessor can go back in at any time and reassess anybody.
Okay.
From what I hear. And the good bet to who to go after is the people that specifically have it lowered.
Got it. Got it. Now, at break, we were talking about something kind of interesting that the audience didn't hear, and we were talking about, because Mike asked you a question about, how many agents, is there enough inventory to cover? And you made a couple of really good points.
Well, the average agent in the Bay Area sells less than 4 homes a year. And there isn't that much to go around. I sell probably 20. And I'm in the game negotiating all the time. And I also would speak to sellers when they're talking to an agent that's, sells 2 or 3 a year. How good will they be? First of all, can they even negotiate their own worth in terms with the seller and get the listing? Because it's a negotiation game right there.
Sure.
But number two, when it comes time to negotiate their price and you get an offer, they're going to sell you out really fast if it's a third of their income for the year. And what I mean by selling
Great
you
point.
out, you know, I fight for seller's price. I fight to get, I have a reputation for getting sellers more money than the average agent.
Okay.
And that's really what it's about, and it's not hard to do, and it's really fun.
Yeah.
And-
Well, especially when you sold a $1.3 million house for $1.7 million.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like, that's where the juice is for me. How much can I get this person?
Yeah.
But it's really easy to kind of sell out agent to agent. You know, I think they'll take this.
Ooh.
It's really easy to do, and I never do
That's a
it.
conflict of interest.
Well, right,
Yeah.
if you do the math, if you think about it, so let's say the agent is getting half of a 5% commission, the difference to him in his pocket from a 1.5 to a 1.6 is probably not worth fighting for, but that
Exactly.
$100,000 is a huge difference to the
Good
seller.
point.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
I'm thinking the same thing.
and if they don't know how to negotiate, they're just going to sell out real quick because they're desperate and they don't want to lose that buyer, and the listing might go to somebody else because it's going to expire. And there's all this like
Oh.
weird desperation energy.
You know what? That's a really good point too. Is that what happens when a listing is getting close to being expired?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How
And
do you usually handle that with a client?
when a listing's got to expire,
Yeah.
I haven't had it in such a long time.
That's good.
Literally,
You're too good.
Yeah.
like literally 50% of my business is expired listings that have.
From
From
someone
someone
else.
else.
Others, oh,
There you
That's
go.
what I do.
Patty, will you be around to sign autographs?
Yeah, exactly. No,
No, I'm
it's-
telling the truth. I don't mean to be like
No,
that.
that's
I'm
okay.
telling
Patty
the
Just
Cole,
tell the
listing
truth.
agent
Yeah.
extraordinaire.
Yeah, that's called low hanging fruit. I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, you know the expression. If you can't be the firstborn, the second spouse, you want to be the third agent.
I haven't heard that. I like that. I'm gonna remember that one.
Patty, do you consider all the top real estate agents to be excellent negotiators?
I definitely do.
And so, how does one get a hold of you if they have some of those negotiating skills
Oh.
for their benefit?
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's 415-722-4842. Patty Cone, Pacific Union International.
Excellent. And you can always go on to Investment Investing website to get Mike or Patty or now Mark. We're going to talk to you. Email says, what are the differences between lending to real estate investors and borrowers wanting to purchase personal residence?
Okay. So my company is Pacific Private Money, or Pacific Private Money Loans, and we make we're alternative to bank financing. We make real estate loans, and our source of capital is from private individuals here in the Bay Area who like to make high yields on their capital. So we make two types of loans, generally speaking, and most people might not even realize that there's this distinction between the two. And there is investment property loans, and then there's consumer loans. So it's either investment purpose, also known as business purpose, or it's consumer purpose. And Dodd-Frank, when those laws and regulations and reforms were enacted, they specifically made distinctions between when you finance real estate, whether it's for an investment or business purpose, or is it a consumer purpose? Because the laws are different. A consumer purpose includes a purchase of a primary residence. It also includes a refinance, which you might be doing on investment property if the money you're taking out of that property is going to be used for a personal expense like paying down credit cards or paying tax bills or paying a wedding or what have you. So, and a lot of people don't realize that just because it's a rental property doesn't mean every time you borrow against it, it's for a business purpose. So we as lenders have to know that distinction because it's important. It's important from my perspective as a broker. If I'm brokering loans and the source of my capital is private individual capital, I have to be careful. I have a fiduciary responsibility to protect the capital investments of my lender clients, my investor clients. So I need to know these laws, and that's something that we've spent a lot of time and a lot of hours studying, and we're members of the California Mortgage Association, which is almost exclusively private money or hard money lenders that are members of that association, as well as we're members of the American Association of Private Lenders, and these organizations meet regularly to discuss best practices and regulations. And so to the consumer, to the borrower, it's really not, usually they don't care, it's transparent to them.
Yeah.
But again, from our perspective, we need to be careful because now the laws, the Dodd-Frank reforms really heavily favor the consumer in terms of protection against predatory lending practices.
And
So
I would
we have
think
to be
you-
careful about
And
that.
I would think you work really well with realtors, because a lot of times there's a pinch where, they thought their financing was coming through, they wanna buy a house, and,
Well, they do. In fact, we got we had several calls this week. So one loan we're doing, and a lot of people don't even realize we can do these loans. So a lot of people nowadays are trying to buy a home first before they sell because it's a super tight market. They go to the bank and they find out that even though they make good money, their what's called debt to earnings ratio or DTI ratios, which is now regulated. That these numbers are regulated by the Dodd-Frank reforms. They're not strong enough to allow them to buy a second home and have a second conventional mortgage. So they have to either sell their home first and risk not being able to find a house to move into in time, or they have to use alternative financing to acquire the target property, the property that they'd like to move into, whether they're upsizing or downsizing. And so we get loan requests all the time from people who are looking to do that. In fact, this week we got one from a couple who is downsizing from a large home to a condominium, and they needed more than 100% financing for the acquisition, and we were able to do that for them because we are making the loan on both the target property and their existing property, which had tons of equity. So $490,000 purchase, we're making them a $510,000 loan, so it includes closing costs. Closing costs are baked into the loan amount. We'll have a first position loan on the target property, but we will also have a second position loan on their existing property, which had over $1 million of equity.
Oh,
So
wow.
when we do the math, the combined loan to value, the CLTV as we call it in the industry, is actually around 50%. So
yes, and the odds of they don't wanna lose that $1 million equity, I'm guessing.
Right,
So
so
they're
it's-
gonna make sure that they pay your.
right, and no bank is going to do cross collateralization and all that.
Yeah.
The brain
Right.
damage to them, it just doesn't work. It's just easier for them to say no and wait for the next applicant to come
So-
along who's got high FICOs and a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah, what was the quote that you gave them, for the?
This one, we were actually competing against another company, so this was priced a little bit lower than I would have preferred. This came in through one of my agents. The note rate is 9%, and the points were 2 for a $510,000 loan. Sometimes we can be, 2.5, somewhere between 2 to 3 points, depending on the situation, and anywhere from 9 to 10% on the note rate. And again, this is a bridge loan. They will probably repay this loan within 60 days. So the 9%, or even if it's 10 or 11%, really,
Yeah.
it's almost irrelevant if they only have the loan for a few months because they're probably going to pay it off in full when the house they're living in now actually sells. So,
Got it.
so good opportunity for them to take advantage of purchase opportunity to downsize and not involve the banks.
And people can invest with you and earn good
8%.
interest rate.
Yeah, our mortgage pool fund, which we'll probably use to make this loan that we were just talking about, is paying a little over 8% right now. 8.15% was the most recent distribution. And again, past performance does not guarantee future results, but we've been doing this now for a number of years, and we've been very consistent in the returns that we've been paying our local Bay Area clientele, which numbers over 250 right now. So happy clients, and many of them are happy to give us referrals. So if you want more information about either borrowing, alternative financing, or potentially finding out how you might be able to benefit from earning high yields on your investment secured by real estate, 8% or more, give us a call. Pacific Private Money. Phone number is 415-883-2150. Again, 415-883-2150, or go to our website, which is pacificprivatemoney.com.
You can also find Mark on the best of investing. Patty, why don't you give out your information one more time?
415-722-4842. It's Patti Cohn at Pacific Union International.
That's for real estate.
Real estate.
Want to list a house or buy one.
Yep.
And Mike?
I can be reached at 415-785-4585.
Mike does financial advising, and he does not charge a commission. I like that. Okay,
Absolutely.
here we go. Thoughts for the day. Michael Jordan said this. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. Of course, I don't know if you count them. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed.
Truly.
I like that. And then Billie Jean King said this, champions keep playing until they get it right.
You betcha.
Another good one.
Go Warriors tonight.
There you go.
Yep, Sunday
Okay.
night.
Tune in next week to The Best of Investing, where we will be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown. We're wishing you the best of investing. So long.
I threw you there for a minute, huh?
You did.
Is